how to generate electricity, how we get electricity from these different types of fuels. So the first thing we looked at was coal, oil and gas, so commonly referred to as thermal power stations. Now they all work in exactly the same way. They take the heat energy that is produced by coal, oil or gas and they turn that into electrical energy by a process that looks something like this. So the coal is kept in a big sort of storage container. It's piped out of there, and the heat that is released from burning the coal is used in this sort of area you can call the furnace. It's used to turn water into steam. That steam, when it's channeled along these thin pipes, is used to turn this turbine. That turbine acts just like a wind turbine. It's connected to a generator which is used to generate the electricity. As this steam comes back down here, you get seawater being piped through, normally seawater or some kind of cold water, which is used to kind of recondense that steam back into water, and the water is taken round again and the process repeats itself. That works exactly the same way for oil. Oil is heated, changes water into steam. Steam is used to turn the turbine to generate electricity. Gas works in the same way as well. So the reason why they're called thermal power stations is because they use heat in order to change water into steam and then to generate electricity from there. What we looked at after that was hydroelectric power stations. Now, hydroelectric power stations, they use the potential energy of water at a certain height. Most dams will have a hydroelectric power station within them. Again, they only produce a very, very small amount of electricity and they're very expensive to build, so they're not necessarily the answer to the energy crisis, but it is one of the ways in which we generate electricity. So if we look at the diagram, we've got water at a certain height, usually in a reservoir. The water descends from that reservoir. At the height it has potential energy. When you release that water down this kind of chute, that potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy is then used at the bottom to turn a turbine which is connected to a generator to generate electricity. The water then flows back into the river and can be pumped back up to the top in the reservoir again. And that's really how a pumped storage hydroelectric power station works. Works the same way as a hydroelectric power station. It's just that during the times of not so much demand for electricity, during the night or early in the morning before everyone gets up or before everyone's using all that electricity, what they'll do is they'll use a small amount of energy to pump water back up to the top here, and then during the peak times, in other words, when you just come in from work or when you just get up in the morning, during the peak times of very, very high demand for electricity, they'll use pumped storage hydroelectric power stations to kind of boost the amount of electricity that is produced. So that will kind of work in tandem with the coal, oil and gas power stations. So 3 types of power stations, all use turbines. Well, I suppose more than 3. 3 types of power stations that use thermal energy to produce electricity, and 1 that uses water. They both contain turbines, and both those turbines are connected to generators which give out electricity. So they all work in a very similar way. It's just the energy that you start with and you convert it into is slightly different.